I'm Harper 32, standing in a glowing Seattle restaurant heart full, hosting my in-laws' 40th anniversary. The table sparkles with flowers. I'm proud to make this night special. Then my sister-in-law Clara grins and says, "Oh, we left our wallets at home and our cards too." My in-laws laugh, but her sly glance at her husband twists my stomach. Is this a joke or something worse? Have you ever felt a family moment turn sour? Share where you're watching from, and please like and subscribe. The restaurant hums around me, waiters gliding past with trays of steaming dishes, their clatter mixing with the soft jazz overhead. I'm still reeling from Clara's wallet comment, her words hanging like a bad aftertaste. My hands fidget with the linen napkin, folding and unfolding it as I try to focus on the moment. The table is a lively circle, my husband Nathan, his sister Clara, her husband Greg, my in-laws, Diane and Harold, and Nathan's cousin Elise, who's sipping her water quietly. I planned every detail of this night, from the rose centerpieces to the engraved menus, wanting it to be perfect for Diane and Harold's milestone. But Clara's grin, sharp and knowing, keeps pulling me back. She leans forward now, her blonde hair catching the chandelier's glow, and flags down a waiter. "Let's get a bottle of that vintage Bordeaux," she says, her voice bright, almost performative. "And those crab appetizers for the table, the ones with the caviar." My jaw tightens. Those are the priciest items on the menu, and I'm the one footing the bill. Greg chuckles, nudging her arm like it's a private joke, but Elise catches my eye, her brow furrowing slightly. I force a smile, not wanting to seem petty, but my chest feels heavy, like I'm carrying a weight I didn't sign up for. I glance at Diane and Harold, hoping they'll notice the extravagance, maybe rein Clara in. But Harold's busy recounting a golf story, and Diane's nodding along, her silver earrings glinting as she laughs. "Clara's always been so generous," Diane says, almost to herself, as the waiter sets the wine bottle down. Generous. The word stings. I've spent weeks saving for this dinner, cutting corners on groceries, skipping my usual coffee runs. I thought they'd see that, appreciate it. Instead, they're beaming at Clara, who's pouring wine with a flourish, like she's the one hosting. My mind drifts to smaller moments, times when Clara's forgetfulness felt too convenient. Last summer, she joined me for brunch and claimed she'd lost her card, promising to Venmo me later. The payment never came, and when I mentioned it, she laughed it off, saying, "Oh, Harper, you know I'm scattered." Nathan told me to let it go, so I did, swallowing the irritation. Then there was the group movie night, when she showed up empty-handed, saying her wallet was in her other purse. I covered her ticket, her popcorn, even her parking. Each time, her apologies were so charming, so effortless, I doubted myself for caring. But now, watching her order another round of appetizers, I can't shake the feeling that this is a game, and I'm the only one not in on it. Elise leans closer, her voice low, so only I can hear. "She was showing off a new leather bag this morning," she murmurs, her eyes flicking toward Clara. "Said it cost $1,000. My stomach lurches. $1,000 bag, but no wallet for her parents' anniversary. The math doesn't add up. I want to ask Elise more, but Clara's laughter cuts through loud and sharp as she toasts to family and good times. Everyone raises their glasses, and I do too, my hand shaky. I'm trying to hold on to the joy of this night, but it's slipping like sand through my fingers. I look to Nathan, sitting beside me, his broad shoulders hunched slightly as he studies the menu. I need him to see this, to say something, anything. His dark hair falls over his forehead, and I will him to meet my gaze, to notice the tension coiling inside me. But he doesn't. He flips a page, his jaw tight, like he's avoiding the whole scene. My heart sinks. I remember the barbecue last year, when Clara borrowed my favorite silver earrings, a gift from my mom before she passed. They vanished, and when I asked, she shrugged, saying they must have gotten lost in her move. Nathan's response: "Don't make a big deal, Harper. They're just earrings. Just earrings. Just my money. Just my effort." The words echo, and I wonder how many times I've let just silence me. The waiter returns, setting down plates of glistening crab bites, the caviar shimmering under the lights. Clara claps her hands, delighted, and urges everyone to dig in. I take a sip of water, my throat dry, and try to push down the anger bubbling up. This is supposed to be a celebration, not a battleground. But as Clara orders yet another dish, her voice ringing with confidence, I feel the ground shifting beneath me, like I'm standing on the edge of something I can't quite name. I sit back, the taste of the crab lingering bitter despite its richness. Clara's laughter still rings, but now it feels like a spotlight I can't escape. The restaurant's warmth, once inviting, presses against me, the chatter of other diners blurring into a dull roar. I try to focus on Nathan, willing him to look up to see the storm brewing in my chest. His fingers trace the edge of his glass, and I notice the slight crease in his brow, like he's wrestling with something. But he stays silent, and that silence cuts deeper than Clara's theatrics. I turn to the table, hoping to anchor myself in the moment. Diane is slicing into her steak, her smile soft, as she murmurs to Harold about their first date decades ago. It's sweet, the kind of story I wanted this night to honor. But then Clara interrupts, her voice slicing through. "Remember when I threw you that surprise party for your 35th? She says, leaning toward Diane. "We had that huge cake, and Dad nearly tripped over the streamers." Harold chuckles, and Diane's eyes light up, nodding. I wait for someone to mention the anniversary lunch I organized last year, the one where I spent hours cooking Diane's favorite lasagna. No one does. It's like I'm a ghost at my own table. My gaze shifts to Greg, who's scrolling on his phone under the table, his smirk gone. I wonder if he's embarrassed by Clara's show or just bored. Elise, though, is watching me, her expression a mix of sympathy and something sharper, like she's holding back words. I want to ask her about Clara's bag, about what else she knows, but the waiter's back refilling water glasses, and the moment slips away. Clara seizes it instead, calling for a round of truffle fries to share, her tone so casual it's almost mocking. I calculate the bill in my head, already creeping past $2,000 with the wine and appetizers. My savings account flashes before me, the one I've been building for a down payment on a house with Nathan. Every fry feels like a brick pulled from that dream. I try to speak, to suggest we slow down, but my throat tightens. The words feel small, petty, like I'd be the one ruining the night. Instead, I reach for my phone, pretending to check a message, anything to hide the heat rising in my cheeks. That's when I overhear Diane, her voice low but clear, talking to Harold. "Clara's got such a big heart," she says. "Harper's so practical, always planning everything." The word practical lands like a slap. It's not cruel, not exactly, but it paints me as the boring one, the one who doesn't sparkle like Clara. I'm the one who pays, who plans, who cares. But to them, I'm just the backdrop to Clara's performance. My mind reels back to a family camping trip 2 years ago. Clara showed up late, claiming she'd forgotten her sleeping bag, so I gave her mine and slept on the hard ground. Diane praised her for making it work while I nursed a sore back for days. Nathan didn't notice then either, just like he's not noticing now. I look at him again, his eyes fixed on his plate, and a new thought creeps in. Is he avoiding this because he agrees with them? The idea twists like a knife, and I push it away, but it lingers sharp and cold. Clara's voice pulls me back. She's telling a story about a work promotion, her hands gesturing wildly, the table hanging on her every word. I try to join in, offering a small comment about my own job, but it's swallowed by her next anecdote. Elise shoots me another look, this time with a tiny nod, like she's urging me to speak up. I want to, but the weight of Diane's words, Nathan's silence, and Clara's dominance pins me down. The bill's climbing, my heart's racing, and I'm starting to feel like I'm drowning in my own good intentions. Then it happens, a clumsy moment that feels like a spark in dry grass. The waiter, balancing a tray, brushes past Clara's chair, and a glass of water tips, splashing across the table and onto my lap. The cold shocks me, soaking through my dress, and I gasp, standing reflexively. Clara's reaction is instant, her voice rising. "This is unacceptable," she snaps, waving for the manager. "Do you know how expensive this dinner is?" Her outrage feels staged, like she's seizing the chance to shine. The manager hurries over apologizing, but Clara's already demanding a discount, her eyes gleaming with something I can't quite name. Greg looks away. Diane clucks her tongue, and Nathan still nothing. The table's attention is on Clara. Not the water pooling in my lap. Not the way my hands tremble as I dab at the stain. I sit back down, the damp fabric clinging to my thighs, and something shifts. This isn't just about the bill or the water or even Clara's games. It's about me, about how I've let myself shrink to keep the peace. The restaurant's noise fades, and all I hear is my own heartbeat, loud and insistent. I look at Clara, her face flushed with triumph as she berates the manager, and I know this night is about to get harder. I'm not ready to confront her, not yet, but the anger in my chest is growing, and it's not going away. The damp chill of my dress clings to my legs, a constant reminder of the water spill, but it's nothing compared to the heat building in my chest. The restaurant's lights seem too bright now, casting harsh shadows across the table where Clara holds court, her voice rising over the clink of silverware. She's moved on from berating the manager, now suggesting a dessert course to make this night unforgettable. Her words drip with enthusiasm, but they land like stones in my gut. "Let's get the chocolate tower," she says, flipping through the menu with a flourish. "And those gold-dusted truffles. It's Mom and Dad's big day." The table murmurs approval, and I feel the bill ticking upward, each item a jab at my carefully planned budget. I grip my fork, the metal cool against my palm, and try to steady my breathing. The chocolate tower alone is $300, and those truffles, another $100 easy. I've already lost track of the total, somewhere north of $2,000 now, eating into the savings I've scraped together for our future. Nathan's still staring at his plate, his knuckles white around his knife, and I want to shake him to scream, "Say something." But he doesn't, and the silence between us feels like a chasm I can't cross. Harold leans back, his face ruddy from wine, and claps his hands. "That's my girl Clara, always knowing how to celebrate." He booms, his grin wide. Diane nods, her eyes soft with pride. "You've outdone yourself tonight," she tells Clara, as if she's the one who reserved this table, who called the restaurant weeks ago to confirm the menu. I feel my throat tighten, the air in the room growing thin. I planned this night to honor them, to show I'm part of this family. But it's Clara they see. Clara they praise. My efforts, hours of phone calls, budgeting, dreaming up ways to make this special, dissolve into nothing under their smiles. I try to catch Elise's eye, hoping for that quiet strength she offered earlier. But she's looking down her fork, pushing food around her plate. Clara's still talking now about how she splurged on a spa day for Diane last Mother's Day, conveniently leaving out that I was the one who paid for half of it. The memory stings. Clara had begged me to chip in, saying she was short, and I did, thinking it was for Diane. She never paid me back, and Diane never knew. I wonder how many other times Clara's spun my sacrifices into her own glory. My anger flares, but so does a creeping guilt. Maybe I'm being unfair, reading too much into her charm, her ease. Maybe this is just how she is, careless, not cruel. I try to hold on to that thought, to soften the edge of my resentment. But then Clara reaches across the table, her bracelet jangling, and grabs my hand. "Harper, you're so quiet," she says, her tone teasing, but sharp. "Don't tell me you're stressing about the bill already." She laughs, and Greg joins in a low chuckle that grates against my nerves. Diane and Harold exchange a glance, their smiles faltering just enough to notice, but they don't correct her. The table's attention shifts to me, and I feel exposed, like a spotlight's pinned me to the wall. I force a laugh, but it comes out brittle. "Just enjoying the food," I say, pulling my hand back. My face burns, and I hate how small I sound, how easily she's turned my silence into a punchline. I glance at Nathan again, desperate for a lifeline, but he's cutting his steak with slow, deliberate strokes, his jaw tight. I want to believe he's on my side, that he's just waiting for the right moment, but doubt gnaws at me. Has he always let Clara slide, Because it's easier? Because he sees me as the practical one, the one who'll handle it. The waiter arrives with the dessert menu, and Clara dives in, circling items with her finger, her voice bubbling with excitement. I feel the weight of every choice she makes, each one piling onto the debt I'll carry out of this room. I'm furious not just at Clara, but at myself for letting it get this far, for thinking I could belong in a family that doesn't see me. The anger mixes with a raw, aching hurt, and I realize I'm not just fighting for my money tonight. I'm fighting for my place, for the right to be more than the one who pays. Then, as if the universe wants to twist the knife, Clara knocks over my wine glass. It tips in slow motion, the red liquid spilling across the white tablecloth, soaking my napkin and dripping onto my already damp dress. "Oh, Harper, I'm so clumsy," she gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. But her eyes, those sharp, glinting eyes, meet mine for a split second, and I see it, a flicker of satisfaction. Greg smirks quickly, hiding it behind his hand, and I know. This wasn't an accident. It's a message, a reminder that she's in control, and I'm just the fool who keeps falling for it. The wine stain blooms across the tablecloth, a dark red accusation I can't ignore. My dress is ruined, the fabric heavy with water, and now this, but it's the weight of Clara's smug glance that pins me down. I dab at the spill with a napkin, my hands shaking while she coos another apology, her voice dripping with false concern. "I'll get you a new one, Harper, promise," she says, but the words feel hollow, like a script she's recited before. Greg's smirk lingers, and the rest of the table shifts uncomfortably, their forks pausing mid-air. Diane murmurs something about accidents, but her tone is distracted already, turning back to Clara's dessert plans. I'm invisible again, a bystander in my own nightmare. I look to Elise, hoping for her quiet strength, and she meets my gaze, her lips parting like she wants to speak. But before she can, Clara launches into a new story, her voice loud enough to drown out the restaurant's hum. "You guys remember that time I planned Dad's retirement party?" she says, her hands waving for emphasis. "I had to beg the caterer to stay late, but it was worth it for that lobster spread." Harold laughs, nodding, and Diane chimes in. "You made that night magical, Clara." My stomach twists. I was at that party setting up tables, paying for half the decorations out of my own pocket because Clara said she was tapped out. She never mentioned me, and they never noticed. My chest tightens, each breath shallow, as I realize how deep this pattern runs. Clara doesn't just take, she rewrites the story, painting herself as the hero, while I fade into the background. I think of the countless times I've covered for her, from gas money to concert tickets, always with a smile, always hoping it'd earn me a place in this family. But it hasn't. I'm the one who pays, who plans, who cleans up, and they love her for it. The unfairness burns a raw ache that spreads through me, and I grip the edge of the table to steady myself. Nathan's still silent, his eyes fixed on his dessert menu, but I notice his shoulders tense, like he's bracing for something. I want to believe he's on my side, that he's just waiting for the right moment to step in, but doubt creeps in, cold and sharp. Last Christmas, when Clara forgot to bring her share of the gift fund for Diane and Harold, Nathan told me to cover it, saying, "It's family, Harper. Don't make it weird." I did, because I wanted to belong, because I thought he'd see me the way he sees her. But now, with his head bowed and his mouth shut, I wonder if he ever will. Elise clears her throat, her voice soft but firm. "Harper want to step out for some air," she asks, her eyes searching mine. It's a lifeline, a chance to escape this suffocating table. But before I can answer, Clara cuts in. "Oh, don't leave now," she says, her tone playful but edged. "We're about to order dessert. You wouldn't want to miss the fun, right?" Her smile is all teeth, and I feel trapped like a mouse cornered by a cat. Elise hesitates, her hand tightening around her glass, and I shake my head slightly, signaling her to stay. I can't leave, not yet, not when every instinct screams to hold my ground, even if I don't know how. The waiter returns, and Clara rattles off the dessert order, the chocolate tower, the truffles, and a round of dessert wines, each item another nail in my financial coffin. I feel the eyes of a nearby table on us, a couple, whispering their glances heavy with pity or judgment. I'm not sure which is worse. My face burns, and I wonder if they see me as the fool who let this happen, the one too weak to stop Clara's game. The thought is humiliating, a public mirror to the private shame clawing at me. I try to focus on Diane and Harold, on why I'm here. This is their night, their 40 years of love, and I wanted to give them something beautiful. But as Clara dominates the conversation, her stories swallowing the air, I feel that purpose slipping away. I'm not part of their joy. I'm the one paying for it, the one bleeding for it. My anger surges, mixing with a grief I didn't expect for the family I thought I'd joined, for the version of myself I've lost trying to fit in. Then Elise leans toward me, her voice barely a whisper. Clara did this to me once, she says, her words quick and urgent. Borrowed $500 for a car repair. Never paid me back. She laughed when I asked. Her eyes are fierce, a mirror to my own hurt, and the revelation hits like a punch. This isn't just me. Clara's been playing this game for years, and no one stopped her. The table's laughter fades, and all I hear is my own pulse pounding with a rage I can't contain. I'm not just fighting for my money now, I'm fighting for every piece of myself she's stolen, and I'm running out of reasons to stay quiet. Elise's whispered confession about Clara's unpaid debt burns in my ears, a spark igniting the rage I've held back all night. The restaurant's chatter fades, the clinking glasses and soft jazz swallowed by the pounding in my chest. I'm gripping my water glass so tightly, my knuckles ache, the cold seeping into my palm. Clara's still laughing, her voice carrying over the table as she describes the dessert tower she's ordered, oblivious to the storm brewing inside me. My dress, soaked with wine and water, feels like a second skin, heavy with every slight, every stolen moment I've let slide. I'm done being the one who pays for her spotlight. The waiter approaches, his face polite but strained, and sets a leather folder on the table. The bill. My heart lurches as he opens it, revealing a number that sucks the air from my lungs, $100,000. The table goes quiet, a collective intake of breath, and I stare at the figures. Rare wines, custom cakes, gold-dusted truffles. All Clara's choices stacked like a monument to her audacity. My savings, my dreams for a home with Nathan, my entire financial stability gone in one night. I feel the room tilt, my vision narrowing to that obscene total, each zero a betrayal. Clara leans back, her lips curling into a half smile. Oops, she says, her voice light, almost sing-song. Guess we got a little carried away, huh? Greg snickers, covering his mouth, and Harold lets out a nervous chuckle like it's all a grand joke. Diane's smile wavers, but she pats Clara's hand, murmuring, You always make things special. Special. The word twists in my gut, sharp and bitter. I've spent my life savings on this night, and they're praising her. My hands tremble, the bill folder still open in front of me, a public shaming I didn't ask for. I look at Nathan, my last hope, his face pale under the restaurant's warm lights. His eyes flick to the bill, then away, landing somewhere over my shoulder. I wait for him to speak, to call out Clara's recklessness to stand with me, but he doesn't. He shifts in his seat, his fingers drumming on the table, and the silence between us is louder than the restaurant's noise. My throat burns, a mix of anger and grief, as I realize he's choosing them, Clara, his parents, this facade of family, over me, over us. The manager, a tall man with a crisp suit, approaches, his smile overly bright. Congratulations on the record-breaking bill tonight, he says, assuming we meant to splurge. Quite a celebration. His words are a slap, drawing curious glances from nearby tables, their whispers crawling over my skin. I'm not just humiliated, I'm exposed, a fool who thought she could buy her way into belonging. My pulse races, and I feel the weight of every eye, every judgment pressing me into the ground. I try to breathe, to find the calm I've clung to all night, but Elise's words echo. She laughed when I asked. Clara's done this before, taken, and no one stopped her. Not Diane, not Harold, not Nathan. And me. I've enabled her, covering her tabs, swallowing her lies, because I wanted to be the good wife, the perfect daughter-in-law. But I'm not perfect. I'm breaking, and the pieces are sharp. I look at Clara, her head tilted back, sipping her wine like she's won, and something snaps. I can't let this go, not this time. My voice comes before I can stop it, low but steady, cutting through the table's murmurs. Clara, I say, and the word feels like a blade. She freezes her glass halfway to her lips, and the table turns to me, their faces a mix of surprise and unease. You knew I was paying tonight. My tone is calm, but it trembles with the fury I've held back for years. This isn't a mistake. You planned this. The accusation hangs in the air, heavy and undeniable, and for the first time Clara's smile falters, her eyes narrowing. I feel Nathan tense beside me, Diane's gasp, Harold's cough, but I don't look away. I'm not backing down, not now. Not when everything I've worked for is crumbling under her greed. The silence after my words is deafening, the restaurant's hum fading to a distant buzz. Clara's eyes lock onto mine, her smile gone replaced by a hard glint I've never seen before. The table is a frozen tableau. Diane's hand hovers over her wine glass. Harold's mouth is half open, and Elise's gaze darts between us wide with anticipation. My accusation lingers raw and exposed, and I feel every heartbeat, each one a reminder of the line I've just crossed. I've called out Clara's game, and there's no going back. She recovers quickly, her laugh sharp, cutting through the tension. Plan this, she says, her voice high and incredulous. Harper, you're making a scene. I thought you wanted a big night for Mom and Dad. Her words are smooth, practiced, but there's a tremor beneath them, a crack in her perfect facade. She leans forward, her bracelet clinking against the table, and her tone turns patronizing. You're not seriously upset about a little fun, are you? The word fun lands like a slap, trivializing my sacrifice, my ruin. Diane jumps in, her voice soft but firm. Harper, let's not spoil the evening, she says, her eyes pleading. Clara didn't mean any harm. You know how she gets carried away. Her defense is a knife twisting deeper than Clara's deflection. I've spent months planning this, pouring my heart into every detail, and now I'm the one spoiling it. Harold clears his throat, muttering, It's just a dinner, as if $100,000 is pocket change, as if my life savings mean nothing. Their dismissal is worse than Clara's taunt. It's proof I've never truly belonged. I open my mouth to respond, to tell them about the years of Clara's forgetfulness, the stolen earrings, the unpaid debts, but Nathan speaks first, his voice low and strained. Harper, come on, he says finally, looking at me, his eyes heavy with something I can't read, guilt maybe, or annoyance. Let's talk about this later. You're blowing this out of proportion. His words hit like a betrayal, sharper than anything Clara could say. My husband, the one person I needed, is siding with her, choosing peace over me. The table blurs my vision swimming, and I realize I'm not just fighting Clara, I'm fighting all of them, this family I've tried so hard to love. Clara seizes the moment, her voice rising with mock concern. I had no idea you were struggling, Harper, she says, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. If I'd known you couldn't afford it, I wouldn't have ordered so much. Her words are a public shaming, painting me as broke, incompetent, the poor wife who can't keep up. A woman at the next table glances over her, pity stinging worse than judgment. I feel stripped bare, my pride shredded in front of strangers, my in-laws, my husband. My hands clench into fists, nails digging into my palms, but I can't find words, not yet. Elise slams her napkin down, the sound sharp enough to startle Greg. Clara, stop it. She snaps, her voice trembling, but fierce. You know exactly what you're doing. You've done it to me too. The table gasps, and Clara's face pales, her eyes darting to Elise. What are you talking about? She says, but her voice wavers, betraying her. Elise doesn't back down. The money you borrowed from me. The lies you told. You're not fooling anyone anymore. Her words are a bombshell exposing Clara's pattern to the family. And for a moment, I feel a flicker of hope, a crack in the wall I've been slamming against. But Diane cuts in, her tone sharp. Elise, that's enough, she says, her face flushed. This is our anniversary. Can't we just enjoy it? Her words snuff out my hope, aligning her with Clara, dismissing Elise's truth as easily as mine. Harold nods, his discomfort clear, and Greg looks away, suddenly fascinated by his plate. Nathan's eyes drop to his lap, and I feel the last thread of my composure fray. Elise's outburst has laid Clara bare, but it's not enough. The family's loyalty, their denial, is a fortress I can't breach. The manager hovers nearby, sensing the tension, his earlier cheer replaced by unease. The bill sits untouched, a ticking bomb no one acknowledges. My chest feels hollow, my anger and grief colliding until I'm dizzy with it. I've lost more than money tonight. I've lost the illusion of family, the belief that I could ever be enough for them. Clara's smugness, Nathan's betrayal, Diane's dismissal. They've stripped me to nothing, and I'm standing on the edge of a void, with no way out, and no one to catch me. The air feels thick, charged with the aftermath of Elise's outburst, and Diane's sharp rebuke. My chest is still hollow, the weight of Clara's public shaming, and Nathan's betrayal pressing against my ribs. The bill folder sits like a guillotine on the table, its obscene total a silent scream no one else seems to hear. I'm trembling, not from fear now, but from a clarity that cuts through the fog of hurt. I can't sit here drowning in their denial, letting Clara's lies bury me. I need to move, to do something, anything, to claw back control. I push my chair back, the scrape against the hardwood floor louder than I intend. Heads turn. Clara's eyes narrow. Nathan's shoulders stiffen. Elise gives a small nod, but I don't meet their gazes. I'll be right back, I say, my voice steadier than I feel, and I walk toward the restaurant's front desk, my soaked dress clinging to my legs. Each step feels like shedding a layer of the shame they've draped over me. I'm not running away. I'm choosing to fight, but on my terms. At the desk, the manager Sheila stands with a warm but cautious smile, her gray hair pulled into a neat bun. I take a breath, steadying myself, and say I need to talk about the bill. There's been a misunderstanding. My words are calm, deliberate, but inside my heart races. Sheila tilts her head, listening, and I explain Clara's extravagant orders, her wallet excuse the way she spun this night into her own performance. I don't accuse, don't raise my voice, just lay out the truth raw and unadorned. I can't cover $100,000. I admit, my throat tight. But I want to make this right for my in-laws. Sheila's eyes soften, and she leans closer, lowering her voice. I've seen families like this, she says. One person takes, and the rest let it happen. You're not the first to get stuck with the tab. Her words are a balm, a validation I didn't expect. She flips through the bill, her pen tapping the page, and says, Some of these orders, the custom cake, the rare wines weren't confirmed by you. I can cancel them. My breath catches a flicker of hope sparking. That could bring it down to $5,000. She adds, her tone firm but kind. $5,000 is still a hit, but it's not the end of my world. I nod, my mind racing with gratitude and resolve. Thank you, I say, my voice thick. Sheila hesitates, then adds, I checked our security footage after the water spill. The wine glass incident wasn't an accident. Your sister-in-law pushed it. Her words hit like a jolt, confirming what I'd suspected but couldn't prove. Clara's cruelty wasn't careless, it was calculated. The knowledge steadies me like an anchor in a storm. I'm not imagining this. I'm not the problem. I thank Sheila again and turn back toward the table, my steps firmer now. The restaurant's glow feels less oppressive, the chatter of other diners a distant hum. I'm not the same woman who sat silently through Clara's games. I've spent years bending to fit this family, swallowing my hurt to keep the peace, but no more. Sheila's offer her evidence has given me a foothold, a way to reclaim this night. I don't know how Clara will react, or Nathan or Diane, but I'm done letting their choices define me. As I approach the table, I feel a quiet strength rising like a tide I've kept dammed for too long. Clara's laughing again, her hand on Diane's arm, but it's weaker now, less certain. Elise watches me, her eyes bright with something like pride. Nathan's watching me too, his expression unreadable, but I don't need his approval anymore. I'm not here to beg for their love. I'm here to take back what's mine, my voice, my worth, my truth, and I'm just getting started. The table comes into view, and I feel the weight of every pair of eyes. But this time, I don't shrink. My damp dress, the stain now a faint shadow, no longer feels like a mark of shame. It's a badge of what I've endured. Clara's mid-story, her hands gesturing as she describes a charity gala she hosted, but her voice falters when she sees me. I don't sit. I stand at the edge of the table, my hands steady, and say, "Clara, we need to talk. Alone." My voice is low, firm, not a request, but a demand. Her eyes widen, a flash of unease crossing her face, but she recovers with a tight smile. "Sure, Harper," she says, pushing her chair back with a scrape. We step away near the restaurant's bar, where the clink of glasses and murmur of patrons offer a thin veil of privacy. The air here is cooler, the lighting softer, but my pulse is steady, fueled by Sheila's words and the truth I've finally claimed. Clara crosses her arms, her bracelet glinting, and tilts her head. "What's this about?" she asks, her tone light, but edged like she's bracing for a fight. I take a breath, grounding myself, and look her in the eye. "You've been taking advantage of me for years," I say, each word deliberate. "The brunch tabs, the movie tickets, the earrings you never returned. And now this bill. It stops tonight." Her face shifts, a flicker of shock, giving way to defiance. "You're blowing this out of proportion," she says, her voice rising. "I was just trying to make the night special. If you're so worried about money, maybe you shouldn't have offered to pay." Her words are a jab meant to make me doubt myself, but they don't land. I've heard them before, dressed up in her charm, and I'm done falling for it. "You knew what you were doing," I say, my voice unwavering. "You ordered things you couldn't afford, knowing I'd be stuck with the bill. You pushed that wine glass on purpose. I'm not covering for you anymore." Clara's mouth opens, then closes, her cheeks flushing. "You're being ridiculous," she snaps, but her eyes dart away, betraying her. I step closer, lowering my voice. "I've talked to the manager. The custom orders are canceled. The bill's down to $5,000. You're paying half." Her jaw drops, and for the first time I see her unravel her polished mask, slipping. "I don't have that kind of money," she says, her voice sharp, almost desperate. I don't flinch. "You'll figure it out," I say, "just like I've had to every time you've left me holding the tab." I turn to walk back, but something catches my eye. Clara's purse left open on her chair when she stood. A leather wallet peeks out its edge, embossed with her initials. My breath catches. She didn't forget it. She lied, just like Elise said, just like I've always suspected. The sight fuels me, but I don't call it out, not yet. I want her to feel the weight of her own choices, to know I'm not the pushover she's counted on. I keep walking, my shoulders squared, the restaurant's noise fading into a hum of my own resolve. Back at the table, Elise's eyes meet mine, a silent question in her gaze. I give her a small nod, and her lips curve a spark of admiration there. Nathan's watching me too, his expression torn, but I don't look away. For the first time, I'm not waiting for his approval. Diane and Harold are quiet, their earlier cheer subdued, and Greg's staring at his phone, avoiding the tension. I sit folding my hands in my lap and let the moment settle. Clara hasn't returned yet, and the silence feels like a victory small, but mine. I think of my mom, how she used to say, "You don't have to shout to be heard, Harper. Just stand tall." I've spent years bending apologizing for taking up space, but not anymore. This isn't about the money. It's about me, about refusing to be erased. I lift my water glass, the one thing on this table that's still mine, and take a slow sip. The coolness steadies me, and as I set it down, my eyes meet Elise's again. She nods, and I know I'm not alone, and I'm not done. The table is quieter now, the absence of Clara's voice leaving a void that no one rushes to fill. I sit my hands folded the water glass cool against my fingertips, its surface catching the restaurant's dim light. My confrontation with Clara hangs in the air, unspoken, but heavy, like a storm that's passed, but left the ground unsteady. I feel Elise's gaze steady and warm, but I don't look up. I'm waiting, bracing for what comes next, knowing my demand for her to pay half the bill has shifted something fundamental. Clara returns her steps slow, her face a mask of forced calm. She slides into her chair, avoiding my eyes, and pulls her purse close, her fingers lingering on the clasp. The wallet I glimpsed earlier is gone, tucked away, but its presence lingers in my mind, a quiet proof of her deceit. She clears her throat, her voice thinner than before. "I'll cover $2,000, she says, sliding a credit card across the table toward the waiter who hovers uncertainly. Her tone is clipped, no trace of her usual charm, and the amount half of what I demanded feels like a grudging concession, not a victory. Diane's eyes widen her fork, pausing midair. "Clara, you don't have to," she starts, but Clara cuts her off with a sharp shake of her head. "It's fine, Mom," she says, her smile tight, almost brittle. Harold shifts in his seat, his brow furrowing like he's seeing his daughter in a new light. The table feels fragile, as if one wrong word could shatter it. I don't speak, don't react, but inside my pulse quickens. Clara's payment, small as it is a crack in her armor, a sign she's not untouchable. Yet it's not enough, not for the years of her taking, not for the night she's tried to ruin. Elise breaks the silence, her voice clear and deliberate. "That's a start," she says, her eyes on Clara unyielding. Harper deserves more than excuses. Her words land like a stone, and Greg flinches, his phone forgotten in his hand. Diane looks at Elise, then at me, her mouth opening as if to protest, but she closes it, her expression caught between confusion and discomfort. Harold rubs his jaw, his usual joviality gone, and I realize they're grappling with the truth they've ignored for too long. Clara's not the carefree darling they've built her up to be, she's a weight they've let me carry. I feel a strange mix of vindication and exhaustion. I've waited years for this moment, for someone to see Clara's games, but it's not the triumph I imagined. It's raw, messy, exposing not just her, but the family's complicity. I glance at Nathan, hoping for a sign he's with me, but his eyes are on Clara, his jaw tight, like he's wrestling with loyalties I can't reach. My heart aches, but I push it down. I've fought for myself tonight, and that has to be enough, even if he's not ready to follow. Greg clears his throat, his voice low, almost reluctant. "Clara's been under a lot of pressure," he says, his eyes darting to her, then away. "We've had some money issues." I should have said something. His admission is unexpected, a glimpse into a fracture I hadn't seen. Clara's head snaps toward him, her face paling, and I realize he's betrayed her in his own way, exposing a vulnerability she's fought to hide. It explains her desperation, her need to shine at my expense, but it doesn't erase the hurt she's caused. If anything, it deepens the sting she chose to bury her problems by digging into mine. The waiter takes Clara's card, his movements quick, sensing the tension. The table lapses into silence, the clatter of the restaurant around us, a stark contrast to the stillness between us. I feel the weight of their eyes. Diane's uncertainty, Harold's unease, Elise's quiet pride, but I don't meet them. I'm not sure what I expected from standing up to Clara, but this isn't relief. It's a reckoning, a mirror held up to a family I've tried to love, showing me how much I've lost in the trying. The bill is lower, Clara's paid something, but the cost to me feels immeasurable, and no one's ready to acknowledge that yet. The waiter retreats, with Clara's card, leaving a stillness that feels like the aftermath of a quake. My hands rest in my lap, fingers tracing the edge of my napkin, the fabric rough against my skin. The restaurant's glow, once warm, now casts long shadows across the table where no one speaks. Clara stares at her plate, her shoulders stiff, the faintest tremble in her jaw. I've never seen her so small, stripped of her usual radiance, but it doesn't feel like a win. It's just heavy, a truth laid bare that none of us were ready for. Nathan shifts beside me, his chair creaking, and I feel his gaze before I see it. His eyes, dark and searching, hold a flicker of something new, regret maybe, or shame. "Harper," he says, his voice barely above a whisper. I should have spoken up. "I'm sorry." The words are soft, but they land like stones, stirring a mix of relief and ache. I've waited years for him to see me, to choose me, but now that he's trying, it feels late, like a bandage on a wound already scarred. I nod just enough to acknowledge him, but my throat is too tight to speak. I'm not ready to forgive, not when the hurt is still so raw. Diane sets her glass down, the clink sharp in the quiet. Her eyes dart to Clara, then to me, and for the first time tonight, they linger. "I didn't realize," she says, her voice low, almost fragile. "I thought we were all just celebrating." Her admission is small, but it carries weight, an acknowledgement that she's let Clara's charm blind her. She reaches for Harold's hand, and he squeezes it, his face etched with unease. It's not an apology, not fully, but it's a crack in the wall they've built around Clara, a sign they're starting to see the cost of their favoritism. I should feel vindicated, but all I feel is tired. I've spent so long fighting to be seen, to prove I belong, and now that they're looking, I'm not sure I want their gaze. Elise's foot nudges mine under the table, a subtle gesture of solidarity, and I glance at her, catching the faintest smile. It's enough to keep me grounded, to remind me I'm not alone, but it doesn't erase the hollow ache in my chest. Greg's still silent, his earlier confession about their money troubles hanging like a ghost between him and Clara. His avoidance, his quick glance away when I look at him, tells me he's carrying his own guilt, a partner in her schemes who's now exposed. The waiter returns, sliding the receipt to Clara, who signs it with a quick, jerky motion. She doesn't look at me, doesn't speak, and the table watches her in a silence that feels like judgment. I wonder what's going through her mind. Anger, humiliation, or maybe a sliver of regret. I don't know, and for the first time, I don't care. I've carried her weight for too long, and letting it go, even just a little, is a relief I didn't expect. But it's not freedom, not yet. The bill's lower, the truth is out, but the family I've poured myself into is still fractured, and I'm not sure where I fit in its pieces. Nathan's hand brushes mine, tentative, seeking. I don't pull away, but I don't hold it either. I'm not ready to bridge that gap, not when I'm still finding my own footing. Diane's eyes meet mine again, and there's a question there, a plea for understanding, but I can't answer it. Not now. The restaurant hums around us, oblivious to the quiet unraveling at our table, and I feel a strange detachment, like I'm watching this moment from outside myself. I've changed something tonight, shifted the balance, but the cost is still settling, and it's heavier than I imagined. I lean back, my breath slow, and let the silence hold. There's no laughter now, no stories, just the truth sitting between us, sharp and unyielding. I've fought for my place, but standing here surrounded by their hesitant glances and unspoken regrets, I realize I'm not sure I want it anymore. The thought is a quiet ache, a truth I'm not ready to face, and it leaves me raw, suspended in a moment that feels like the end of something I can't name. The dinner winds down the plates, cleared the restaurant's hum, softening as tables around us empty. I slip away from the group, my steps quiet on the polished floor, and find the small garden patio tucked behind the dining room. The air is cool, scented with damp earth and blooming jasmine, a sharp contrast to the heavy warmth inside. I settle onto a wooden bench, the slats worn smooth, and let my shoulders drop. The night sky stretches above, pin-pricked with stars, and for the first time tonight, I feel like I can breathe. My hands rest on my lap, the damp fabric of my dress no longer a burden, but a reminder of what I've faced. Clara's payment, Nathan's apology, Diane's hesitant admission. They're steps towards something, but they don't erase the years I've spent trying to fit into their world. I trace the edge of my thumb, feeling the callus from years of gripping too tightly to things I couldn't control. I've always thought belonging meant proving myself, but tonight, I'm starting to see it differently. Maybe it's not about their approval. Maybe it's about mine. I think of my childhood summers spent in my mother's tiny backyard, where she'd point out constellations, her voice steady even when life wasn't. "You're enough, Harper," she'd say, her hand warm on mine. I lost her too young, and ever since I've been chasing that feeling of being enough through Nathan's family, through sacrifices I thought would earn me a place. But sitting here with the stars blinking above, I realize I've been looking in the wrong place. I don't need their validation to claim my worth. I've fought for it tonight, not just against Clara, but against the part of me that believed I had to earn love. Elise steps onto the patio, her silhouette framed by the soft glow from the restaurant. She doesn't speak at first, just sits beside me, her presence steady like a friend who's known you forever. "You were incredible in there," she says finally, her voice low, warm. "I've wanted to call Clara out for years, but I never had the guts." "You did." Her words settle over me not as praise, but as truth, a mirror reflecting a strength I'm only beginning to recognize. I smile, small but real. I didn't feel incredible, I admit. I just couldn't keep quiet anymore. She nods her eyes on the garden where a small fountain trickles its sound, a gentle rhythm. "I used to think if I stayed nice, Clara would change," she says. But she doesn't. You standing up tonight, that's what changes things. Her honesty is a gift, a reminder that I'm not alone in this fight. I think of how she spoke up at the table, her voice cutting through the family's denial, and I feel a warmth I haven't felt all night. It's not just about me anymore. It's about us, two women who've carried the same weight, finding each other in the wreckage. We sit in silence, the night wrapping around us, and I let myself imagine a different kind of family. Not one bound by obligation or appearances, but one built on truth, even when it's messy. I've spent so long afraid of breaking things, Nathan's trust, Diane's affection, the fragile balance of this family. But maybe breaking isn't the end. Maybe it's the beginning. The thought is quiet, but it steadies me like the stars above, constant, even when the world shifts. I lean back the bench, creaking softly, and take a slow breath. The jasmine scent fills my lungs, and I feel a lightness I haven't known in years. I'm not whole, not yet, but I'm here, claiming this moment, this truth. It's enough for now. The fountain's trickle blends with the distant clatter from the restaurant, a reminder that the night is winding down. Elise shifts beside me, her presence a quiet anchor, but my thoughts drift inward, settling on the woman I've become in these few hours. I've always carried a fear of losing Nathan, losing this family, losing the version of myself I thought they wanted. But here in this garden, with the cool night air brushing my skin, I'm starting to let that fear go. Losing isn't the end. Sometimes it's just clearing space for something truer. I stand, smoothing my dress, the faint wine stain, a shadow I no longer resent. Elise rises too, and we walk back toward the dining room, our steps unhurried. The family's waiting, gathered for a final photo, the kind of tradition Diane loves. I hesitate at the doorway, watching them arrange themselves. Clara at the edge, her smile stiff, Nathan in the center, his eyes searching for me. Diane adjusts Harold's collar, her movements gentle, and Greg lingers behind, quieter than I've ever seen him. They're flawed human, and for the first time, I don't feel the need to fix them. The photographer, a young woman with a quick smile, waves me over. "You're the host, right? Get in here," she says, and her warmth pulls me forward. I step into the frame, standing beside Nathan, my shoulder brushing his. He glances at me, a question in his eyes, but I don't answer it. Not yet. I face the camera, my chin lifting slightly, and feel a shift, subtle but real. This photo isn't about proving I belong, it's about claiming my place exactly as I am. The flash pops, freezing us in time, and I notice Clara's gaze fixed somewhere beyond the lens, her expression distant. She's not the center tonight, and that small truth settles over me like a soft blanket. I don't need her to lose for me to stand tall. I think of the future of dinners I'll host on my own terms, where no one's allowed to take more than I'm willing to give. The thought is a quiet promise, one I make to myself, sealed in the click of the shutter. Nathan's hand finds mine, his fingers tentative, and this time I let them stay. Not because I'm ready to forgive, but because I'm choosing to move forward to build something new from the ashes of tonight. Diane catches my eye as the photographer packs up her smile, hesitant but genuine. "You did a beautiful job, Harper," she says, her voice soft. It's not everything I've wanted, but it's a start, and I nod, letting the moment be enough. We gather our things, the table now bare except for a single candle, its flame flickering in the draft. I pause, watching it dance, and feel a calm I haven't known in years. I've spent so long running toward a family I thought I needed, but tonight I've found something else, a strength that doesn't depend on their love. I blow out the candle, the smoke curling upward, and step toward the door, my heart steady, my breath slow. The night is over, and I'm ready to walk into whatever comes next. Months have passed since that night, and the sharp edges of it have softened like stones worn smooth by a river. I'm Harper, still 32, sitting on my apartment's small balcony, a mug of tea warming my hands. The Seattle skyline blinks in the distance, its light steady against the early autumn chill. I've started coming out here most evenings, just me and the quiet, letting the city's hum wrap around me. It's a new habit, one I didn't know I needed until I stopped running from myself. That dinner with its $100,000 bill and Clara's unraveling feels like a lifetime ago. I used to replay it, picking apart every word, every glance, searching for where I could have been stronger, softer, better. But I don't do that anymore. I've learned to let it sit, a chapter closed, but not forgotten. The money's gone. My savings took a hit, even with Clara's grudging payment, but I've rebuilt bit by bit. I take on extra freelance work now, editing manuscripts late into the night, and I've cut out the extras like fancy dinners or new clothes. It's not glamorous, but it's mine, a life I'm shaping with my own hands. I think about Nathan often, how his apology that night was a start, not a fix. We're still together, but it's different now. Slower, more honest. We talk more, not just about bills or plans, but about the things we've buried: his fear of rocking the family boat, my need to be seen. He's trying, showing up in small ways, like cooking dinner when I'm buried in work, or leaving notes on the fridge. I'm learning to trust those gestures, to believe they're enough for now. It's not a fairy tale, but it's real, and I'm okay with that. Elise has become a friend, the kind you don't expect, but can't imagine losing. We meet for coffee sometimes, swapping stories over mismatched mugs in a tiny shop near her office. She's confronted Clara about that old debt, and though Clara hasn't paid her back, Elise says speaking up freed her. I get it. That night didn't just change me, it rippled, touching her, maybe even Diane. I saw Diane last week at a family brunch, and she hugged me longer than usual, her eyes soft, with something like regret. She didn't say it, but I felt it, and I let it be. I don't need her to say the words to move on. Clara's quieter these days, her stories less grand, her presence less commanding. I don't know if she's changed, or if I just see her differently, but I don't carry her weight anymore. I've set boundaries, small ones, like declining her last-minute invites or splitting checks up front. They're not walls, just lines, and they've given me room to breathe. I used to think strength meant winning, proving I was right, but now I see it's in the choosing myself, choosing what I let in. I sip my tea, the steam curling upward, and watch a plane trace a slow arc across the sky. My balconies become my sanctuary, a place to unravel the day, to listen to my own thoughts. I've started journaling too, scribbling down moments that feel true. A client's kind email, Nathan's laugh, the way the city looks at dusk. It's not about fixing the past, but about building a present I can stand in. I'm not whole, not yet, but I'm here, and that's more than I could have said before. I lean back the chair, creaking softly, and let the cool air settle over me. The city hums below, a reminder that life keeps moving, and so do I. I'm not the woman who sat silently at that table, and I'm not the one who needed their love to feel enough. I set my mug down, my hands steady, and take a slow breath, ready for whatever comes next. The night sky deepens its stars, now faint against the city's glow, and I pull my sweater closer, the wool soft against my skin. Sitting here on this balcony, I've been thinking about what that dinner really taught me, what it means to carry hurt, and still choose to walk forward. It wasn't just about Clara or the bill or even the family's silence. It was about me, about learning to hold my own worth in my hands, not waiting for someone else to hand it to me. I used to think love meant giving everything, my money, my time, my voice, until there was nothing left. But love, real love, doesn't ask you to disappear. I've started seeing people differently, not just Clara or Nathan, but strangers, coworkers, even myself. There's a quiet power in recognizing everyone's carrying their own battles, their own reasons for the things they do. Clara's greed, her need to shine, came from a place I'll never fully know. Maybe fear, maybe shame. Understanding that doesn't excuse her, but it frees me from carrying her as a villain in my story. I can let her be human, flawed, and move on. It's the same with Diane's favoritism, Nathan's hesitation. They weren't trying to hurt me. They were caught in their own webs, just like I was. Forgiving them isn't about erasing the pain. It's about choosing not to let it define me. I've been learning to say no, not with anger, but with calm, like closing a door you don't need to open again. Last week, when Clara texted about a group outing, I declined, suggesting we meet for coffee instead. Just us, on equal terms. She hasn't replied, and that's okay. I'm not chasing her anymore, or anyone. I'm building a life where my yes means something, where my boundaries are as much a gift to myself as my generosity ever was. It's slow, sometimes messy, but it's honest, and that's what I hold on to now. There's a lesson here, one I wish I'd learned sooner, but I'm grateful for it anyway. We all have moments where we feel unseen, where the world seems to demand more than we can give. But you don't have to stay in that place. You can choose yourself, not with loud defiance, but with quiet, steady steps. It's in the small things, saying no, walking away, or just sitting still and knowing you're enough. That's where freedom lives, not in winning or proving, but in claiming your own space, your own truth. I stand, stretching my arms, the city's hum a soft pulse below. I'm not perfect, and I don't need to be. I'm Harper, and I'm learning to live with my scars, not as wounds, but as proof I've kept going. That's the gift of that night, not the pain, but the strength I found in it, the clarity to see myself as whole, even when the world tried to tell me I wasn't. What's a moment where you had to choose yourself, even when it was hard? I'd love to hear your story in the comments. It's in sharing these truths that we find each other. If this resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need it. Your support means the world, and I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for listening, for being part of this journey. Here's to healing, to finding our way, one step at a time.